I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
Recording in progress after us talking for like 45 minutes.
It's like, dang, what are we going to talk about now?
The pre-meeting. The pre-meeting.
That's
I
right.
kicked my son out of the room that I'm recording in, and I was like, oh, we'll only be on for like 35 minutes or so. Come on back.
35 minutes later, and still have not pressed record.
Low key, more than 35 minutes later.
Well, all for necessary topics.
Very necessary. Yeah.
But you know what's most exciting that we did not address?
What?
That this is episode number 100.
Yes, we are keeping it 100.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a real accomplishment. 100 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I have to kind of wrap my head around this. I remember when we were first getting started, I was just a scrub playing around on my computer trying to figure out how to edit this stuff. And, we've been at it for a long time.
Yep. And you know what? I don't know if we ever made a shout out to, I don't know if you remember this, but remember I went to that IMED digital medical education conference that Beth Israel Deaconess does, and Adam Rodman gave a talk on how do you put together a podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I took all these notes and then shared them with you, and then you like investigated all the stuff. So, shout out to Adam Rodman, who I don't necessarily think listens to our podcast. If you do, I'm sorry, Adam. But yeah, you know what? Like sometimes if you give a talk or do something, it can actually be really transformative and can inspire people to get some stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And his big takeaway is like, it's much easier than you realize.
I mean, I can attest,
Yeah.
Like if I can do it, probably anybody.
Yeah. So I should shout out his podcast. It's Bedside Rounds. It's a good podcast. So, shout out to Bedside Rounds and to, a great talk that let us be our 2-woman operation. And by 2-woman operation, I mean 1-woman operation. Because Ashley is the executive producer and does all the edits. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yes. Well, we know there's no Human Doctor Pod without Kimberly Manning. So thank you
Kimberly
for being my partner
Manning.
in crime.
Well, thank you. Well, my dear, it is Virgo season. And what Virgo season means is that my birthday is coming up in early September. Me and Beyonce and all the other great Virgos of the world.
You and Beyonce and them.
Me and Beyonce and them. But I will be turning 54. And let me tell you something. There are some things about the 50s that I just want to say to the people out there who ain't 50 yet or who are approaching that age that I might recommend for you. Okay. The first thing, now I have 3 recommendations. The first recommendation is sleep. Take your ass to bed. Cognitively, as you get older, you need to go to sleep. So I'm real serious about sleep now. Like I'm planning my whole day around how am I going to get 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep. I cannot underscore this enough. My second recommendation for you is to get your shingles vaccine. I admit, even though I'm a general internist, I kind of procrastinated on that. I have completed my series now, and I have decided that the vaccine does not hurt as much as shingles would hurt if I got it right now. So if you are over 50, please go get your shingles vaccine. And then my last recommendation is for the ladies out there, especially of a certain age, particularly those, the ladies and the people who have been bearers of children. So my non-binary people, my trans folk too. Listen, if you had a baby and even if you didn't have a baby, you've just been walking around for a long time, pelvic floor physical therapy.
Mm,
Like I feel like I'm a pelvic floor physical therapy evangelist. Like I feel like every person right after they like leave labor and delivery, they need to have in their hand a referral for
mm.
pelvic floor physical therapy. So I would like to give a shout out to all of the physical therapists out there, not just the ones helping you after, you have a stress fracture from running. I'm talking about the ones who show you how to breathe and how to, do all these things with your core and your pelvic floor that I just, I don't know. I just thought it was like somebody telling you how to do Kegels. And I was really like thinking, is this TMI? No, it's not. I'm going to use my powers for good and tell you, go and get you some pelvic floor physical therapy. Yeah, there you go.
I love it. Who else is a pelvic floor PT evangelist who
Oh,
is not 50 or approaching the age of 50?
oh,
Amanda.
oh, shout out again to Amanda.
Oh,
See,
jeez.
Amanda? See, Amanda, that's why we so cool with each other. I mean, okay, can I? Okay, I know just as a point of privilege, I mean, because it's almost my birthday, y'all just got to hear this out. So I want to let you in on some of the things that happens at pelvic floor physical therapy.
Mhm.
You do a lot of exercises to help strengthen your core, your inner thighs, your outer thighs, your balance, how you breathe when you're exercising. There's a lot of like lower body exercises that we do. It's a full workout when I go. And I don't know. I think I don't, maybe it's like the snobbery of doctors where you think, oh, what are you going to have me do? And I'm like, you know what? People get doctorates in physical therapy for a reason because it is a lot that is going on, and I learn so much every time I go to my appointments.
Mhm.
Um, I cannot say enough good things, and I am actually seeing a difference in my body when I run, when I do jumping jacks, a lot of things that I mean they're like really tangible effects, and I just think like I just can't say enough good things about it.
Wow. I love
Mhm.
it. That is a full-throated endorsement of pelvic floor PT,
It is. It is.
and I'm here for it.
Yes. And shout out to Amanda for, making it not seem like it's just an old lady gangy.
Exactly. There's a lot of benefits out there, so look them up.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So, I mean, I indulged a lot there. What's up with you?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
how's
mean,
your pelvic floor doing these
yes,
days?
exactly. I'm sure it could definitely use some PT, but I'm grateful for what it is right now.
Ah.
I just have to shout out that my nephew, who was born my first year of medical school, actually, I remember I was in gross anatomy lab when I got the text, and I had to tell my lab partners, I was like, I gotta go, because he was born at the hospital like down the street from my medical school.
Oh.
Um, yeah, that baby boy turned 13 this last weekend, and I got to be there, which was awesome. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I was just really thinking about all the ways and the resources and the steps that had to happen for me to just be able to like take a couple days just to go home and be there for, a non-repeatable life event, and have
Right.
folks at my job be able to cover for me, and have the resources to buy a plane ticket, and it's just really
Mhm.
I'm just really humbled by, the circumstances that allowed me to do that.
I love that. And then just, it bears repeating the non-repeatable life event. We've said that on the podcast before, but for our listeners, there are things that do not repeat. And
Mhm.
if somebody that you love has a non-repeatable life event, it is worth planes, trains, automobiles, sacrifice, inconvenience. And, hey, if you're a medical student or a resident, even putting down a book and not studying so that you could be there for a non-repeatable life event. Because all
Mhm.
that other stuff, it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, 13-year-old nephew, tell his mama to get some pelvic floor PT, please.
I actually will. I definitely will.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, you did not come here to hear about my perimenopausal recommendations. No, you did not.
Are you sure?
I mean, you know what? I mean, it's important. But kings, queens, and non-binary royalty. It is only fitting that as we keep it 100 on our 100th episode,
Mm.
that the person for whom you know you subscribe to this podcast to hear, who happens to also double as our producer and also an auntie extraordinaire
Mm.
and general internist, by the way, none other than the Ashley McMullen will be telling y'all a story from the archives of Ashley. Yes, indeed. And so,
Ah,
with all of that run up, sis, tell the people on our 100th episode what is the what?
girl, I needed all that run up and then some. The what is compassion?
Compassion. Okay. I don't think we
Yeah.
use the word.
And if we have, I'm just going to say on episode 100, we get to do over. So we're just going to
Oh, we
restart.
hit reset. Okay.
Yes.
No,
So
I'm pretty sure we have not used compassion.
okay.
Although our absolute superstar listener, Jolay, who keeps track of all of this, she will let us know. So shout out to Jolay on our 100th episode.
I need to give Jolie producer credits.
Yes. Hmm.
Yes. But the what is compassion. And, I want to share some of the inspiration behind the story because I didn't know I was telling the story until today. Because on Tuesdays, I have the privilege of spending my day with medical students.
Okay.
And today was, a little exhausting just because I flew in last night and then, spending all day with second and fourth year students. It was a lot to cover.
Okay.
But with my fourth year students, they're at that time of the year where they're getting ready to take a really important step in their journey, which is applying for residency.
Hmm.
And so, really, a large part of our session today was just spending a lot of time in reflection and kind of tapping into how everybody's feeling, putting together personal statements and thinking about places they're going to apply and, starting to dream about what that day will look like when they find out where they're going and really stepping into that formative season of becoming a doctor. And in preparation for this session, I actually dug out my personal statement,
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait.
which I will disclose was written almost exactly 10 years ago. And I have not revisited that in a long time. Thank God for Google Docs. Like these things just kind of live in perpetuity. But I saw that and I was immediately transported back to an important patient interaction I had as a third year medical student, and one that really was a formative experience for why I wanted to do medicine and why I wanted to go into internal medicine in particular.
Okay.
It starts during my third year of medical school.
Hmm.
Um, so at this point, I've completed my pre-clerkship years. I think I'd had a couple of clinical rotations under my belt, some of the bigger ones, and I was able to do a couple weeks of an elective, which in this case was medical oncology. And so this is a rotation which is primarily outpatient based. And so people
Hmm.
coming to clinic either usually for follow-ups when they've already been diagnosed with a cancer and they're trying to kind of figure out non-surgical management. So I remember vividly being at one of the big medical office spaces in our Houston Medical Center, which is massive. There's a lot of esteemed cancer care in Houston. MD Anderson is a big presence there, and also UT physicians and Baylor. So a lot of great doctors, a lot of cutting edge therapies. And so, people generally get good care. But those clinics are also really, really busy. And as a medical student, again, you're still trying to get a lay of the land. You don't quite know what's normal, because everything seems like, oh, this is how doctors behave. Like this is how it's supposed to be. And I was shadowing, or it felt like shadowing. I think I was mostly just following one of the clinicians that morning. And we had seen a number of patients together. Again, I was mostly listening in while this doctor kind of took the lead on talking to patients and disclosing diagnoses and formulating a care plan. There was one woman on the schedule, I'll call her Daisy. And I would say that she was probably in her 50s, mid to late 50s, Black woman, And she was coming to clinic alone. She had been connected to the clinic mostly just for monitoring of some blood cell abnormalities that weren't concerning during the times that she was coming, but
Mhm.
on recent labs was looking more and more concerning, and specifically was looking like multiple myeloma.
Mm.
So she was coming in specifically to follow up on her blood test and also to hear, for the first time that, this was the diagnosis that she had.
Mhm.
This was a while back, so it's hard for me to kind of remember specific details, but I do remember vividly like her face and her response. And so she comes into the room and, the doctor is facing her. And I just remember how quick the visit was in terms of the doctor saying, like, you have multiple myeloma, like, here's how we manage this, like, here's what we would recommend, like, you should make a follow-up for this time and begin treatment, immediately. And I remember her looking just so overwhelmed and just frankly like terrified.
Mm.
There wasn't much, again, I'm just purely an observer, but there wasn't really an attempt to kind of connect her emotions to the visit or try to understand like her understanding.
Mm.
Even now, like I will say, like as a seasoned clinician, I think that I still have a hard time, honestly, describing multiple myeloma in very like layman's terms. Especially, because it's a disease that progresses on a spectrum. And a lot of people are coming in thinking that, it's just routine monitoring and then, oh, suddenly like you have cancer. And so she left that visit. And again, I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything, but, went about like an entire full day of clinic. Hours later, I'm finally getting out and, looking forward to being at home. And I see her sitting in the lobby. I assume maybe waiting for a ride, but she was by herself. And it was a moment of hesitation in terms of like, would it be welcome for me to engage? Like, is that appropriate? But I did make this decision to just kind of walk over and sit down next to her and really just kind of seeing how she was doing. I had no idea like what I was going to say or how I was going to say it, but just kind of like, hey, like, are you okay? I think about this word compassion because it means with suffering, like to sit still with someone kind of in that moment. We ended up talking for like 30 or 40 minutes. I found out that she had been living in a group home
Mm.
and was estranged from most of her family.
Mm.
So she was alone, confused, scared. And for me, it was a lot of listening. And I think as I was talking to my students about this, I was just like, sometimes one of the best things about medical students is that you don't know enough to interrupt patients or, feel like you have to have an answer.
Mm.
And I was very clear, just like, I don't know a ton about this. I can tell you what basics I do know, but more than anything, I can assure you that you don't actually have to go through this alone. And I think that was the piece that stuck, was that she was just feeling so isolated.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we had that conversation, and then I ended up, leaving her there. I wrapped up my rotation, and that was it. So I think it was several months, almost a year later. Now I'm on my sub-I. So this
Which
is
is a
where
which is a fourth year rotation before you.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've progressed through a lot of medical school. And at that point, I'd kind of forgotten about that interaction. And so I'm heading down by myself to the emergency room of this hospital to go admit a new patient. And as I'm going to go find that patient, I see Daisy laying in a stretcher in another room. And at
Mm.
first I wasn't sure. Like I kind of looked and I think I went to go like do my work with this other patient. And then I was just like, I have to go see if that's her. And then I saw her and she immediately remembered me.
Mm.
I recall that her reason for being in the hospital, or at least in the emergency room, was some side effect from her treatment, but she was okay. But we struck up a conversation and I remember her like laughing, like she was telling me a story about her and her family, and I was just like, oh, you re-engaged with your family? She was like, yeah, I let them know what was going on, and then I reconnected with my children and my grandchildren. And she had so much joy in her voice even as she was
Mm.
laying there.
Mm.
And she told me in that moment, she was just like, what you did in the lobby was a game changer for me.
Mm, mm,
That moment, among many, but I think that was kind of like a culmination of events that really set the standard for just like, oh, this is who I am. This is the doctor that I'm going to be. This is why I'm going into medicine. Like that was my personal statement.
mm,
And doctoring with compassion, I think, embodies who I am in this career. And it was really meaningful to go back and see that.
mm,
I don't know where Daisy is or what the outcome is. I didn't see her again after that. But it's just like these very brief moments to
mm,
like slow down and see somebody and sit with them, even when it's like uncomfortable or you don't quite know what to say.
mm,
But this idea of just like bearing witness and being willing to sit still in someone else's pain, even if it's for a moment,
mm,
I think just really represents the best of our profession. And I'm really grateful that I got to experience that when I did.
mm, mm. Wow. That's beautiful. I
Mm.
mean, it's not even a lot really to say back to that. I mean, I think there are a lot of times, not just as doctors, but just as human beings, where, there's something internally pulling us to come to the side or to be in this to hold on to a piece of suffering with somebody or to
Yeah.
step into it. Um, you know, for people of faith, they refer to, ignoring that little voice and going anyway as being obedient.
Mm-hmm.
To those who do not, believe in a higher power, maybe it's just kind of listening to your gut or whatever that means to you. But whatever that is, I'm glad that you push past whatever would stop you to go and be with another human being. I mean, I think that's really the best of what we have to offer. Um, and the really dope piece of this story is that you would then have the universe or whomever give back to you um, this affirmation that you did the right thing.
Yeah, man.
That you did the right thing. Because oftentimes we do not get loop closure. Um, but I'm actually surprised at how many times I have. A lot of my stories that I've told here have been like, this happened, and then 3 years later, this
Yeah.
happened, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, so I often think that some of those loop closures could come to us if we slowed down,
Yeah.
Because, right, you could have just blown past, right, and not seen her, or even been curious enough to wonder, or maybe not even registered her enough that first day to even want to go sit with her, at that time. So I just think there's a lot to be said about just slowing down some and then thinking about like, well, even if it doesn't come out perfect, even if it doesn't lead to a 40-minute conversation and then, a few years later, you yucking it up in the emergency department. Sometimes it's lumpy, but
Mhm.
um, usually to go to a human being and try to be with them, especially if you think they're lonely and suffering, it's usually the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's worth saying that, doctors don't have a monopoly on these types of interactions. In
exactly.
fact, I would say, most of our ancillary healthcare staff and other clinicians probably do this better
Yep.
because we often miss even just seeing folks. When I think about, how busy those oncologists were and just how routine that appointment felt when you're giving someone
Yep.
a diagnosis that is not only hard to understand but really kind of like life altering. This is part of what I love about teaching, is because my
Mm-hmm.
medical students are usually the ones to remind me of the importance of being still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is such a dope job, man. And it's a space like where people are telling folks, "Oh, you don't want to go into medicine. It's not worth it. You don't want to do this." I've heard doctors tell their own kids, "No, you don't want to do this." But to be able to step into someone's life and in their space in their most vulnerable times,
Yes.
without, a 3 month, 4 month introduction beforehand. I'm talking about 3 seconds, 3 minutes, and you are like right in the most intimate moments with them. That is such an incredible privilege.
Hmm.
And really, we give to people what we would love to have.
Mm.
And all you got to do is live. All you got to do is live, because if you keep living, you are going to have something happen where you see it when it's good and see it when it's not good. And it just informs so much of what we do as doctors, but also just as human beings. And there's so much low hanging fruit, like our body language, our intonation, how we sit down, how we listen, how we start the conversation, what the tee shot is on the conversation.
Hmm.
You just jumping right in and being like, yo, you got multiple myeloma. Goodbye. Here's your follow up. Like, I mean, well, did you pause for a little while outside of the room? Um, Person who is board certified in medical oncology, did you think about, like, well, how might I explain this to a layperson?
Hmm.
How can I give this information to this person in a way that will allow them to tell another person? How will they answer that question when they say, "What did the doctor say is wrong with you?"
Mm.
Because I find myself often using that as where I place my explanation.
Mm.
Because what I know is going to happen is, if they're alone, is somebody that loves them is going to be like, "What did the doctor say?"
Yep.
So I'll say, "What are you going to tell your son when he asks you, what did I say?"
Mm. Ooh.
Let's pretend like I'm your son. And when they can't do it, I'm like, okay. And sometimes people just really cannot, at which point it's important for me to then figure out how I'm going to talk to your son for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe I could just, we could just go over it and get it into some living room language where, I tell you that instead of, the regular grass that's on your lawn, you had this other grass grow on your lawn, and it's growing and it's filling up the space that makes it where the other grass can't grow on your lawn anymore. But not only is it grass growing on your lawn, it's giving off some stuff that could make your body sick. And that's what multiple myeloma is doing on the inside of your bone. And that's what we call your bone marrow, and it fills up the space where your normal bone marrow was going to be. Some people, it goes real slow. Some people, it goes a little bit faster. But we have medicines that hopefully can do something for it, but that depends on how much has affected your bone marrow. Right now, this is what we know about you. They did a test and they looked in your bone marrow, and you were at about 22%. That's telling me that instead of you having just the regular bone marrow that you have, um, like 22% of it is being replaced with these cells that's doing the wrong thing. And that means that's how we know it's what we call multiple myeloma. I don't want you looking on Google, okay?
Mm.
I want you to
Hmm.
talk to me. I mean, and I'm talking through this because as you were saying it, I was like, how would I explain this to
Yeah.
somebody? And I'm gonna keep watching you until I see something makes sense, right? It's like something makes sense. Like, oh yeah, okay, everybody's, has something grow on their lawn before or in their garden that filled up the space. And you're like, wait a minute, ain't no space for this because of this. Right. So that way, and then explicitly telling people, like, look, don't be looking at, some search engine, because all the scariest, most frightening things are gonna come to the top.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about my job. I love thinking about how I can give somebody, empower somebody with knowledge so
Hmm.
that the knowledge replaces the fear of the unknown.
Yes. I love that. I mean, I was like, I should be taking notes. That's like my internal trigger, but I was like, I could just go back and listen to this. And I'm
Yes,
going to use that exact same analogy.
because you
That's
have to edit it.
yeah.
Well, sis, we are at the drawing to the close of the 100th episode. And I just want us to take a moment of gratitude for some people who I think have really been meaningful listeners,
Mhm.
and also just a meaningful part of this podcast. Of course, we always have to give a shout out to our close friends, Amanda and Lisa, but also I want to just shout out a few people
Yes, please.
that are regular listeners that I really do appreciate that regularly listen. Of course, my little sister Jolay, who is our like sidebar producer, Dr. Sorrentino, our person who does our show notes. So just shout out to
Yes,
Catherine. She
absolutely.
does great work with that. And that was something she volunteered to do. My line sisters, Tanya and Mara, who regularly listen, my colleagues like Shanta Zimmer and Leslie Miller and Stacy Higgins and all of these really, really busy people who still take the time to listen. And I also just want to shout out one of our really dear Twitter followers, Elephant on a Bike. And I don't remember,
Yes.
I don't know Elephant on the Bike's government name, but that is our friend down under,
Hmm.
all the way, I believe in Australia.
Yeah.
Australia, yeah. Who listens to every episode, amplifies it, and it is so cool that they do. And then last but not least, all of the medical students that
Yes.
I have encountered along the way who have told me that they listen to this podcast. And we really, really appreciate you. We see you. We think about you when we're talking, and we try to be really careful about our influence. Who do you want to shout out?
Man, I mean, you know, took all the
All the heavy hitters.
yeah.
I know, right? I haven't said
Uh,
Amanda. I didn't even give you a
I mean, dang, you didn't leave me
name.
nobody. But you know, I think I definitely want to echo everyone that you said. And I was waiting for Elephant on a Bike. I was just like, I took Twitter off my phone. I can't look up his government name. But I mean, I also just want to echo specifically, like it just brings me so much joy to see his tweets. And I just think it's such a grace. And I know he's shouted us out in other venues. Like he's also a pain specialist.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Okay.
I wanna specifically thank him, you know, for being such a loyal follower for so long.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just one other person I wanted to mention is Charlie Varon, who is another close friend and a creative mentor who was someone who reached out 2 years ago and wrote like one of the kindest, most thoughtful emails, like just praising our show, and it was just
Mm.
really it was kind and it was hilarious.
Oh, I love that.
And anybody else who's also, I know there's been other people who've messaged me on social media and in my email, and life sometimes gets in the way and I can't respond to everybody in the way that I would have hoped. But please know that your messages do not fall on deaf ears. I read every single one and it fills me with joy. Like it can literally like turn, you know, an average or less than average day into something spectacular. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. And of course, to our little bro, Justin
Mm-hmm.
Bullock, who regularly listens. Oh, and Gurpreet Dhaliwal, because you know
Yes,
what?
Gurpreet.
Can I let me just say this real quick? This is gonna be a long episode. I'm sorry, y'all, but it's our 100th episode. Okay, last week I have to shout out Gurpreet for this. I was on a meeting with Gurpreet at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, which means it was 7:30. Yeah, it was 7, 8. No, no, shoot, was it? Wait. Yeah, 7:30. Look, I'm not good at math, y'all. 7:30 Pacific time. And for him. And he let it be known in that meeting that he had already listened to our podcast episode. It was on a Wednesday, which means the minute it dropped, he listened to it and had already heard it before we were on this meeting. I was like, I could not believe it. This is a very busy, like full professor. Like, what the heck? So, you know, we got some important people who listen to us, y'all. So shout out to you, Gurpreet. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Oh man. I'm gonna avoid the desire to extend this episode further with like more memories and shout outs. But again, just to reiterate, you know, even if we didn't specify you by name, you know who you are. And you know
Yeah,
that we really appreciate you. So
yeah.
thank you.
But I think the person that I have to really show the most gratitude for is you.
Oh,
I am so grateful for our friendship. I got this 30-something-year-old friend who listens to me talk about pelvic floor, physical therapy, hot flashes, and kids and putting people in college. We have, you know, walked through some amazing things like a son graduating from high school and going to my alma mater and us visiting the school, hoping he'd go there, to losing two of the most important people in our lives in the midst of this and in this space. You have been such a good friend to me and just so transparent and so open. And I just am so grateful for our friendship. So
Yes.
shout out to you, little sis.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And shout out to you, first of all, for accepting that, visiting professorship in 2019 and, your willingness to, take a shabby little assistant professor to have coffee and stay in touch. And, I think it's, I'm glad that I have this episode or this platform to say publicly, like, not only are you one of my dearest friends, but you've actually like single-handedly like transformed my career. And I can't imagine, like literally cannot imagine like how my career would have taken shape had I not met you at that moment.
Mm.
It's just been a reminder constantly of God's presence in my life, is that I have people like you in it that I couldn't have anticipated or planned for. So
Girl, I'm Gabby and you Sha'Carri, honey, because you're running faster and harder than me. So go on and take that thing in, girl.
but
I'm behind you strolling and ready to retire.
you still have one more gold medal than I do, but we'll
Well, listen, y'all, we appreciate y'all keeping it 100 with us. And cheers to many, many more. We love y'all and appreciate you. You could have been anywhere.
But you chose to be here with us.
And we appreciate you. Holla.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!